Hello, my friends. It's your buddy Phil here, project management trainer and coach. I know I do a lot of PMP related stuff, PMBOK stuff, but one of my first loves in the world of project management is actually scheduling. Before I started training PMP, I started training Microsoft Project way back in the 2002 version. In fact, some of my first projects in project management, first products were actually training Microsoft Project. I had a curriculum called The Layman's Guide to Microsoft Project. So today I thought I would revisit some of the features of Microsoft Project that people don't use, people may not know in the tool, and things that I've come across as I've used Microsoft Project to manage schedules in different organizations. So over here, we have a standard Microsoft Project schedule. We have task name, deliverables, PMBOK area, a bunch of things that were added in, kind of customized from here. But to hide some of these, all you need to do is right click and hide, just in case you haven't used any of those. Right click and hide any columns that you don't want to see. Then it comes back to duration, start, finish, or you could go up to views and just find the view you want. So if you want a Gantt chart view, that's a Gantt chart view already. If you want other views, click on that, more views, select which other views you're looking for. Typical one you hear people asking about is a resource sheet view. Just click on that. There you have it. Those are your resources. And seems like we don't have any rates for these individuals. So why don't we go ahead and put some standard rates in there? Just 55, 44, just some numbers. So those are some numbers, okay, that we can work with. Another one is a resource usage view. A lot of folks don't use the resource usage view. Resource usage view is used to enter work that is done. Okay, so there we go. We don't really have anything in resource usage. If we go to Gantt chart and if we insert a percent complete to the left, percent complete, and let's start putting in just some random percent completes. Just some numbers, just for the sake of the illustration. When you go back to the resource usage view, you see that some resources have worked some hours for it to get over here, for it to get to that percent complete. So it might be way back, it might be way down. There we go. Okay, so you can see in this area here, some resource hours, you can see that, have been assigned as far as what they've actually done. All right, going back to the Gantt chart view, let's just talk about some of the bare bones features apart from percent complete. What do you do when your auto scheduling feature is not turned on? You got to look for it. You got to look for it and put it in. So one of the quickest ways, insert column. You want to look for under task, task mode. There we go. And task mode, you can see if your task mode is on manual schedule, you don't want that. You want to change it to auto schedule. So let's assume we had a few that were on manual schedule. You know, the quick way to do this is to just change one and just drag that little corner thing there, just drag it down. And there you have it. It's changed to auto schedule. Auto schedule is really important to make the most out of the Microsoft Project Brain. Another feature I don't see people using a lot, let's insert that column, is the predecessor feature. I know some of the more advanced users might, but a lot of the newbies to Microsoft Project, they don't use it. And that's the predecessors field. And you can see each predecessor is given a number. And you can see in some instances, we can have a task with 3 predecessors or even more than 3. This is functionality that you should be using in scheduling to really make it a coherent, robust, legitimate schedule. Here's some other ones. You see, this is linking so many different tasks, and this is reality. So that's the predecessor feature. Another feature here in the predecessors field is making your tasks more than just finish to start. So start to start, plus let's put some lag time, things like that. See that lag time in there? It's indicated quite graphically in the Gantt chart view. Talking of the Gantt chart view, another piece that people don't use very often, we come all the way over here. I find a lot of folks don't use the split screen. So let's right click in the Gantt chart and show split. This split screen, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how useful this is to very rapidly assign, right, time, like just click OK, and that's assigned. You know, and of course, you got to know the work equals duration times unit formula, because this stuff will mess you around if you're not careful. So I'll say proceed with caution when you're using all these bells and whistles. You got to have the project set up properly. I like using fixed duration because I don't like it messing around with my dates. I don't like it changing things on me. So I use fixed duration for the entire project. And I have an idea of how long it will take duration wise, but that's different from using effort-driven scheduling and deciding based on effort, based on the amount of people working, based on the amount of time they put it in, you know, here's how long the project will be. All right, let's right click over here. And here we are going to deselect show split. And that's that. Other features people don't use, just the feature of baseline in the project. So into the project field here and into set baseline. And I really want to demo it for you to see what happens. So let's go in and put the baseline cost. Let's right click and insert a column where you can see actual cost. And this shows you the actual cost on the project. Unfortunately, it wasn't baseline before we started tinkering with it. But if you were to go in there and you were to actually set the baseline, let's do that, set baseline, entire project, let's just okay it, boom, there's your baseline. Now, if you were to go back into cost, so let's right click and find the cost column, because you know the cost column is like the prediction of cost. So let's find the cost column here. There's cost. All right, so there's your cost column. Everything matches nicely. Now, what happens if you decide suddenly that what you had in the beginning is not going to fly? So let me go into split screen and let's assign just at random some additional resources. And let's go crazy on the units. So we assign in a contract manager, 2.5 of a contract manager. Let's say we need 3 project managers and say, okay, all right, what is that going to do? You see, it's messing around with my cost now. So my baseline cost and my cost, the prediction, they no longer match. Now, if I undo what I did, you see it goes back to normal. But whatever I did, it messed around with it somehow. It took one of the more expensive resources and kind of took their time, reduced their time, and added time. So the bottom line is this: if you're messing around with Microsoft projects assignments, just be careful, because it could do things to cost. But you know, the really cool thing, your baseline cost will always show what the original was. See this? See a difference here in the predicted cost? Predicted cost from today for this is different from what it was in the beginning. It's actually less. But on a lot of projects, we know it could be actually more. See? So that's that. That's one piece of functionality that I find people not using a lot. Another piece of functionality, let's just insert a few things from your past. Those of you who are PMPs, ACWP, you remember what that is? That's really your actual cost, right? Actual cost. Okay. Let's insert another one. So in addition to actual cost of work performed, let's put in there budgeted cost of work performed, and let's insert budgeted cost of work scheduled. Now, this stuff is going to fly over folks' heads who have never been into the world of earned value. But these 3 things here We know these by actual cost, AC. We know this one by earned value, EV, and we know this by planned value. That's really what we call those in the world of prep that you do for the exam. See that? But all of these are real things. I know a lot of folks may not have seen these things come to light on an actual screen, but here you are, you're seeing them, and you know that these things are real. Seeing is believing. These are not just some randomly made up stuff from PMI. They're actually real metrics that are used on projects. See, so here we have our earned value, we have our planned value, we have our actual cost. So out of a planned value of this across the entire project, that's where we are. We've spent that. This is not good, is it? Or is it good? This is good because we have spent less than the value we got, you know. So this tells a story, tells you a thing or two. A few more things to look into before we round up in this view of MS Project and what you could do with it. Let's throw in the infamous constraints. So we're going to put in a constraint type column, and the constraint type field just shows you what is a hard constraint and what is a soft constraint. See, so all of these are just soft. They're all as soon as possible, which is good. All right, now the moment I put a different constraint in here, just see what's going to happen. I'm going to put a start no earlier than. And what do you see? You see that constraint. You also see some notes. If you double click on that, you can see all of these fields, the notes, it's in there. Go to advanced. You can see the constraint type, constraint date, stuff like that. Another aspect that people don't use very much, which I think is helpful instead of constraints, is using deadlines. So let's double click on research and let's go to advanced and let's see. Okay, so we've got an as soon as possible. Okay, we are going to put a deadline here and let's see what that is. It's 8/27/13. It's a really old project. So let's click. Actually, before we do that, before we set the deadline, I'm just going to go to project and show you how to set the project date. So let's click project information. A lot of folks don't do this. They type in dates manually. That is just so bad. All right, we're going to make that 2022. Let's see. Okay, let's see what happens. All right. You move task, blah, 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 to this before the project start date. So I'm going to say, okay, go ahead, do it. Okay, so we have the start date. Oh, the start date refuses to budge. Well, this is one of the joys of project. You see, the problem with what just happened was I actually put some information into the finished. So I've finished the work, or I've done some of the work. How was I able to do some of the work way back in 2013 when the project starts in 2022? You see the dilemma? So it's a smart little tool here. Let's see what else I can do if I wanted to forcefully start the date in 2022. Let's see what it's going to tell me. Still doesn't like that. So there's something not right. And Microsoft Project knows you said you're this % complete. How could you be this % complete if you're starting in 2022? You see the logic? So it's kind of backwards there, but let's go ahead and put in the deadline that I wanted to put in. I'll just show you how the deadline works. So you can't fool the software sometimes. See? All right, let's go ahead and double click on plan risk management. I'm just going to show you how to put in the deadline. Click on that and let's put the deadline in. Let's say it's 17th of November. Say okay. And you don't really see anything except you scroll way, way into the future somewhere and you will see that deadline show up somewhere in November. Let's try that again. Let's do that with something up here. All right. So this is 2013. Let's go to view and let's see that selected task. Ah, there's so much float here or lag. All right. Let's put something around. So this is, I see why it's difficult to see stuff. So what I put is probably in there, but because the dates are spread out so severely, you can hardly see anything. So let's go back to the calendar. I'm showing you how to do and undo stuff now. But let's go back to project and let us go back in a time machine closer to 2013. There we go. All right, so things aren't looking as spread out. Let's put a deadline into 8/13/14, round about there. So we'll do 8/13/14. This is way back. Where were you? 8/13/14. 8, we'll put it 8/15/14. All right, you can barely see it, but maybe we made it a little bit bigger. Maybe, just maybe, you'll see that deadline. So what you're looking for when you assign a deadline, oh, there, is that it? That's it. Kind of hidden. It's meant to be an arrow. Let me put a little bit out. Just a little bit out. There we have it. There's your deadline. So if a project spans across a huge timeline, it's going to be hard to find it, except you use the magnify function. And don't forget, just click on the task you're looking for, go to view, and just look for that. It used to be like a hand or finger pointed to the task. They changed that, but there you have it. There you have it. So it's gone to the task. And as you move into the not too far future, you see your deadline over there. So that's another feature that people don't use a lot. All right. Let's talk about maybe a couple more features. The good old notes, as you can see. That's another good one to use. Let's see what else. Insert. So for those, my friends, who use a lot of earned value, if you need multiple baselines, you've got that ability to put multiple baselines in there. Of course, the baseline cost is just like the first one. You could have baseline cost 1, 2, 3, on and on like that. Another feature that people have at their disposal is in the format aspect. And I know it says Gantt chart format. It typically would say format on yours, but you could just go to the outline number, click that, and it just gives your schedule a nice little WBS numbering system there. See, some of the more advanced functionalities. Okay, and there you have it. I hope this gave you some food for thought for you to see how all this stuff works and for you to get good with your scheduling. The more you play with the tool, the better you're going to be. There are a few other features I should talk about here, by the way. I know it's 2021 and there are a number of views that people have at their disposal. So we have a task board, believe it or not, right? And you can see that is very Kanban-ish. So we've got not started, next up, in progress, done. So and as you work on stuff, you can just move it across states like that. So the idea of you using your Microsoft project schedule in a Kanban format is not far-fetched. It's absolutely doable, which is pretty cool, isn't it? All right, my friends. Well, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed going for this little whirlwind of a tour with me in MS Project. If you have any questions, you feel free to put them below and I'll be more than happy to get back. Take care and bye for now. And I actually should mention, for those of you that have asked the question, do you teach scheduling for non-Microsoft project, just the theory? Yes, I do. I should have also told you that the United States government, believe it or not, they have a schedule assessment guide. And I should probably show you what that guide looks like before I hop off today, because I think they did a pretty good job. It's quite agnostic, quite generic. And I'm going to try to put a link in the video somewhere below. So let's take a look at the GAO schedule assessment guide. Of course, it's free. It's government, right? You might as well download it. But let's take a look at the table of contents. Best practices, the IMS, critical path, planning, scheduling, and the scheduler. And then it goes into some stuff that you've seen in the world of PMI, WBS, activity names, activity codes, predecessor and successor logic. Really great stuff. I actually wanted to develop a course in this curriculum. It might very well do, but scheduling is becoming a little bit obsolete in a lot of companies. People are not using scheduling tools the way they used to. And when they do use scheduling tools, they're using a lot more friendlier looking interfaces, lightweight tools that cater to the upcoming generation, which is okay. And I guess we're just changing with the times, but there's still some folks in government, very heavy process type companies that still use this. All right, so I'm going to put a link below. Go check it out. If you're keen on taking the PMI SP exam, you want to know more about it, I've got a video too out there. I train people for it. So if you want to get in ship shape, the lingo, the understanding, or you want us to go through the standard for schedule management, I'll be more than happy to do all that stuff with you. All right, you take care. I'll talk to you soon.